Alright, we are currently 3 days out from Prismatic Evolutions. Between that, Drain Together, and the new Team Rocket set, I think there's a lot of cards flying under the radar right now. Hidden gems that might spike up in value again. So these are cards that I'm going to call Market Watch. These are ones I have my eye on. I've been picking up gem mint copies so I can find them. I have a couple of these in my grading submission I'm about to send out later today. So I just want to go over it, share my thoughts, and I think it'd be fun to look back in a year or two and maybe see how accurate I was. So starting off, we're going to have the Obsidian Flames Ninetales. This is a great looking card in a PSA 10. It'll set you back about $250. There's 1,300 10s to 2,400 9s, so not a super hard card to grade, but that gem rate is a little bit low. Might be the lowest one on the list that I'm about to share, but still not terribly bad. It's a Gen 1 Pokemon, so I think this has a lot going for it. Obsidian Flames is about to hit that 2-year point where we see a lot of cards spike up. For example, Crown Zenith recently spiked up, and that's 2.5. So, you know, it's not flawless logic, but it is a good thing to start keeping out for. A while ago, you could find a copy of this Ninetales for about $9 to $12. Now it will set you back about 20 to 25. But even with that spike, I still think there's a lot of room for it to grow and a lot of potential. I don't know what the ceiling exactly is. If I had to put my guess in, I think it could spike up to like a $40 to $60 range. Anything more than that would be a little bit surprising. I don't think it'll ever overtake the Obsidian Flames Charizard per se, but it's still a great looking card and one I'm trying to keep an eye out for. I try to pick up as many gem mint copies as I can. I have one going out to grade today, so hopefully that comes back a 10. Yeah, I think this is a good looking card. Like I said, it's Gen 1, which has is a good thing because a lot of the Pokemon cards that are spiking up right now are iconic, well-known Pokemon and not so much for their art. I think this has both going for it. So at that $20 price point, I'd probably pick this up. I don't think it's your last opportunity per se, but it wouldn't surprise me if 6 months or sooner we do see another spike on this card. Next up, we have Houndoom from Shrouded Fables. This is a really good looking card. Unfortunately, it's not in a really good looking set, and that's why it's the only set you could probably find on shelves as you go to your Target or Walmart today, but I don't think that's a bad thing. This card is obviously newer. I think it came out, August, October last year. So not very old, and it is one of the most expensive in the set, even at the $25, $30 range. I think it is the second most expensive illustration rare behind the Persian. Not a bad gem rate though. 690 10, 770, and a 9. So 50-50 is pretty good. I'd say for a modern illustration rare especially, because they tend to be less quality than like special illustration rares. So that's not too bad. If you wanted to buy a 10, it'd set you back about $145. That was about $100 November last year, so that price has gone up even though the raw hasn't. I think this is a really great looking card. Shrouded Fables is not being bought a lot, clearly, but still a pretty good looking set. This card especially I think is gorgeous. I know it's not as bright and colorful as a lot of the other ones that have been garnering value, but at $25 to $30, essentially a chase card in a set, that's pretty cheap. And Shrouded Fables is not the easiest cards to pull anything from, so personally this is one I'm really looking at. I just picked up a copy at a card show I went to, 2 days ago. That one's going off to grading. I think it's a really good looking card, a really good looking 1 in 10. And at that price point, I think it's hard to go wrong. I think the timetable for this is longer than like the Ninetales per se. It could be easily a year, year and a half, maybe 2, before this card really hits its maximum price. I don't know what that maximum price could be. I think it'd probably be similar to the Ninetales, where if it went for that $67 range, I wouldn't be surprised. Initially, I thought that maybe these illustration rares would not gain as much value because they're technically easier to pull than like a special illustration rare. But like we've been seeing, let's see, like the Eevee from Twilight going up crazy, the Magikarp, things like the Marill or the Raichu or the Groudon from Paradox Rift have all been going crazy. So I don't think it's limited by being an easier pull. Technically, still very hard pull from Shrouded Fables. Just one I'm happy to keep my eye on. I think this is a really good looking card for the future. So I'd say those two are my biggest, like, ones I have the most confidence in. These next ones aren't bad. but they're maybe more to my personal taste, if that makes sense. So the next one's coming from Paradox Rift, which I think has the most amount of underrated cards in that set right now. And this is the Yveltal from Paradox Rift, or Yveltal, however you want to say it. This is a great looking card. Again, it's an illustration rare, so it's easier to pull. But still for $15, I think this one is a little bit undervalued. It's difficult to say though, because like I said before, this one's definitely carried by the art associated with the card rather than the Pokemon itself. I don't know how Yveltal's got to be pretty popular, but I don't think he's as popular as like a Ninetales or a Houndoom or like a Mew, or obviously any evolution. But still a great looking card. And a 10, it's only worth $100, which I know is pretentious to say, but with cards going as crazy as they are, that's not very high. And about a 50-50% gem rate. 522 in a 10, 549 in a 9. I don't know what the ceiling is on this. I think this is lower than like the Ninetales and Houndoom, but to me, it's giving like a $30 to $40 ceiling. So nothing crazy, but this might just be a personal one. I really like this card. I think it's really cool. The colors on it and the idea of Paradox Rifts. It fits well with the theme. So just one I have an eye on. Again, this one's a lot easier to find copies of, especially for that $15 range. I've even bought some for like 12 or like 10 at shows. So yeah, just another one I want to keep my eye on. Paradox Rift is definitely a little bit older. I don't know. I don't see this being the card from Paradox to spike up, if any did. Like the Groudon has been gaining value. I think this one will be a lot slower, but just an interesting one. I want to throw the idea out there of. Next up is our only special illustration rare. It's the Tapu Koko from Paradox Rift. Again, I love this set. And for being a special illustration rare, it is one of the cheapest. And albeit, again, it is not a very super popular Pokemon. I don't think people love Tapu Koko. I doubt there's many Tapu Koko collectors out there. But this card specifically looks really good, especially in person. The colors on it are phenomenal. I love the retro wave theme to it. It's a good looking card. And it has been dipping down in price, not a ton. It was like a $20, $25 card on release. Now it's about $15. So I think even then, it's a pretty safe buy. I think it's at the lowest point it'll be right now. And a great looking card. Again, special illustration rares are easier to grade. So there's 660 and a 10 and 680 and a 9. That's pretty good, 50-50. And a 10 will only set you back $70, which is really odd. Because even comparing it to the Yveltal we just talked about, the Yveltal with a $15 card, very similar gem rate, sets you back $100. So I think there's even some room there if you want to buy a 10 copy, which I don't know. For the cost of 2 plus grading, you could probably buy a 10. I don't know. Make sure you pick up minty copies, I guess. But yeah, this is another one. I don't think the ceiling's very high on it. It's a cool looking card. Maybe it'll be a $40 card a year from now as absolute peak. But just a good looking one I want to keep my eye on personally. I don't know if a lot of people feel the same. Maybe people are just ignoring it because it's Tapu Koko. But I think it's a good looking card. So yeah. Alright, and the last one that I'm pretty confident on is the newest one in this list. It is the Surging Sparks Mesprit. This is a really good looking card from a set that is completely sold out. Obviously the Mesprit looks very similar to Latios and Latios. I'm pretty sure it's the same artist and it goes as a part of the picture. But it's a $10 card right now, which isn't bad. That has gone up. I used to buy copies for $6, $7 pretty frequently before Christmas. So I have 2 of these going out in my submission today. And a PSA 10, they're not expensive, $90, $100. There is no population rate out for these because Surging Sparks is so new. So my guess personally would be either like a 35-65 or 40-60 gem rate. I don't know if that's true or not. Obviously, we'll have to see as these as like the population actually gets shown by the PSA website on the registry. But I think this is a great looking card. And again, this set is really hard to find despite being so new. I haven't opened a lot of Surging, but the pull rates were not very generous. So I think a $10 illustration rare is a good price for a Surging illustration rare. And I really like this card personally. Again, Mesprit, definitely a niche Pokemon, but this one, I think it's hard to argue with that it's really good looking. And even compared to like the Latios, which I know garners the $40 price point that it does because it pairs with the Latios, I think the Mesprit still has room to move from 10 closer to that 40. I don't know what's going to look like years from now. Obviously, with these awesome new sets coming out, like Prismatic, Journey Together, and Team Rocket, Surging might go under the radar again. These prices might drop, or who knows, maybe they won't. It's hard to tell because with the flagship card like Pikachu, you never really can tell because it's always like an outlier, right? So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely one that I'm a lot less worried about than some others on this list for like timetable wise. I think we got easily a year and a half to 2 before this card really sees its maximum peak, but just an interesting one I wanted to throw out there. That's one of my personal favorites on this list. The next two I really like, but I'm probably the least confident in. If I had to put your money towards something, I would not put it towards these two, but it is one I think is just interesting. So this is a Cleffa from Obsidian Flames. This again, kind of going with that formula of being carried by a really good art and not a super popular Pokemon. It has gained value already a little bit. It has doubled, I think. It used to be like a $9-10 card. Now it's like $18-20. But it is a really good looking card. And Obsidian Flames, again, hitting that 2-year point. Maybe just one I want to keep an eye out for, a set in general. And at 10, it's about $140, which is pretty hefty for a $20 price point entry. There are 630 PSA 10s and 1150 PSA 9s, so definitely a harder card to grade. And if you get a 9 on it, it's clearly not worth it. So it's a little bit riskier, but a good looking card. I think people will look back fondly on this one. I don't know. It's hard to say because when compared to things like the Ninetales or the Charizard, even from Obsidian Flames, I'm not confident in it, but it is a cool one. So that's the one I've been looking out for personally. And the last one on this list is a promo. It is the Kingdra from Shrouded Fables. I don't know why I forgot that. I think it's a really good looking card. The Greninja is clearly spiked, even though Greninja is very popular, so you kind of would expect that. I think the Kingdra is better looking art-wise, and I think that's hard to argue with. It is a Gen 1 Pokemon, right? It's an early Gen Pokemon. I'm like 50% sure it's a Gen 1 Pokemon. So yeah, and a PSA 10 is about $80, and the reason for that is because it is an insanely easy card to get a PSA 10 of. There are 4,670 PSA 10s and only about 2,000 PSA 9s. That is, excuse me, diabolical gem rate. And a really easy one to grade, a really great looking card. And it being a promo from Shrouded Fables, I think this is what the little hype that Shrouded Fables has is because of these. If this was a card in a set, people would love this set. This would easily be an $80 card. So it's one I'm just interested in looking. Again, Shrouded Fables isn't very old, but even already in that young time span, we've seen the Greninja go up in price. So it'll just be interesting to see. It's another one I have my eye on that I'm not too worried about picking up. I think I'll be able to pick up copies for it for a long time. And yeah, that's my list. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree, if you disagree on any of these, which ones you would pick up if you had to. For me personally, if there's one that I'd label as like urgent that I just want for myself, for my personal collection, it'd be that Ninetales. But let me know what you guys think. I want to thank y'all for watching if you watched this far. And I appreciate it. And I'll see y'all next time.